them all flowing up his nose.
Om Aganati Marandasyangana Gana Sarakya Chaksuru Miritam Yena Tajmai Shigurve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Sayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shiguru Siyata Parakamaram Shigurun Vaishnavam Sya Sirupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Hitam Stam Sidevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sirada Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishchikan Vitam Sya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutade Srimati Bhakti Padan Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Deva Guruvani Pacharine Navishesha Sunyari Praskata De Satarine. This is again from the 6th canto, 1st chapter, 3rd verse. We've already chanted the Sanskrit. Now I'll read the English translation. My dear Lord, you have described the dynasties and characteristics of King Priyavata and King Uttanapada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead created this material world with various universes, planetary systems, planets, and stars, with varied lands, seas, oceans, mountains, rivers, gardens, trees, all with different characteristics. These are divided among this planet Earth, the luminaries in the sky, and the lower planetary systems. You have very clearly described these planets and the living entities who live on them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here the words Yatedam, Ashrijad, Vibhu clearly indicate that the Supreme, the great Almighty Personality of Godhead, created the entire material world with its different varieties of planets, stars, and so forth. Atheists try to conceal the hand of God, which is present in every creation, but they cannot explain how all these creations could come into existence without a competent intelligence and almighty power behind them. Simply to inquire or speculate is a waste of time. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Aham sarvasya prabho mata sarvam pravartate iti matva vajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitaham. I am the origin of everything. Mata sarvam pravartate. Whatever exists in the creation emanates from me. Itam matva vajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitaham translates, when one fully understands that I create everything by my omnipotence, one becomes firmly situated in devotional service and fully surrenders at my lotus feet. Unfortunately, the unintelligent cannot immediately understand Krishna's supremacy. Nevertheless, if they associate with devotees and read authorized books, they may gradually come to the proper understanding, although this may take many, many births. Stated in chapter 7, 19th verse, Bahunam janmanomate jnanamam prapadyate vasudeva sarvaniti samahatma sudurlabham. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Vasudeva Krishna is the creator of everything, and his energy is displayed in various ways. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita 7.4.5, a combination of the material energy, bhumirapo nalo, and the spiritual energy, the living entity, exists in every creation. Therefore, the same principle, the combination of the Supreme Spirit and the material elements, is the cause of the cosmic manifestation. Prabhupada used to give the example that if a woman walks into the room who's obviously pregnant, we'll say, congratulations, when's your due date, yada, yada, yada. And then the question might be asked, who's the father? So what if she were to say, oh, no father, I did it myself. Is it possible?
No.
No, but that's what the scientists want us to believe. We say Mother Nature. They want us to believe that Mother Nature did it all herself, without any father. It's quite a stretch, isn't it? Did anyone ever observe matter organizing itself from a lower level to a higher level in the history of the world? Did anyone ever observe matter with consciousness in and of itself? We did. And yet we're supposed to take this huge leap, and it's faith. I'm sure the first people who would debunk faith would be the atheistic scientists, and yet they asked us to make an incredible leap of faith that although we've never seen matter animate itself, never seen matter organize itself from a lower level to a higher level, and we're supposed to attribute all the sensitivity, all the emotions, love, hate, compassion, envy, jealousy. We're supposed to attribute consciousness in all of its permutations and combinations. We're supposed to attribute all the variety of this material world amongst the moving and non-moving living beings to dull, dead matter. I think although the scientists have high IQs and degrees from Harvard and MIT, I think that if you believe what they say, you have to have a low IQ and not very much astuteness. They've set themselves up as the high priests and demanded that we have faith in what they say, even though the proof is not there. Practical experience is not there. This room that we're sitting in, dome, chandeliers, paintings. Someone would walk in and say, wow, who did those paintings? Nobody. We just came in one morning, they were there. Well, who carved the altar? It was just, one morning, it was just here, the marble floor. So nicely laid, all the pieces fit together, they're flat. You don't trip over any of the edges or stub your toes. Who was the craftsman? Who was the artist? The marble did it itself. It just organized itself. Nice, smooth surface, easily walkable. I mean, even the most hardcore atheist scientists would say, oh, you're putting me on. You're spoofing me. Nobody would believe that. Well, then, nobody should believe your materialistic theory of the universe. Fact is, you cannot explain the variety, the sensitivity, the consciousness of creation simply from matter. It's not possible. Prabhupada says you have to acknowledge two energies, two elements. The materialists only acknowledge matter because they have a bias against God. They don't start with dispassionate, scientific, open attitude. They start with a bias against a supreme creator, a supreme controller, who would be superior to us, to whom we would have to subordinate ourselves, maybe even honor, maybe even worship, God forbid. So there's a bias. I don't have to honor anybody. I don't have to worship anybody. I don't want to. Which is just an extension of the attitude that brought us here in the first place. Krishna Baliya se jiva bahira nadira mukha. As soon as we stopped or stepped back from acknowledging and honoring our Creator, then we came to this material world. Now, another point is that a creator, creation, creator. This harmonium was created by someone for a certain purpose. This stand to hold the phone was created by someone, designed and engineered specifically for a certain purpose. So wherever we say creation and creation, there is also purpose, a specific purpose, which the Creator had in mind. Now, if I want to make up my own purpose and do my own thing, then the first thing I'm going to do is deny the Creator. I'm going to spin out some theory of spontaneous generation, random creation, because I don't want to follow the purpose for which I was created. I want to do my own thing. I want to make up my own purpose. So we're starting to intuit that this is hardly science. When you start from that kind of a bias, you're hardly going to be pursuing knowledge dispassionately. The Prabhupada explains that in order to understand creation, you have to encompass the material, but more importantly, the spiritual. There's two elements to creation. There's matter and there's spirit. The atheists and materialistic scientists, they take only one of those two elements, and it's the least important one. It's the one which will never, ever organize or generate itself from a lower state of organization to a higher state. Let's go back to this room. If we were to leave this room, go out and lock the door, and not come back for 6 months, would it be cleaner or would it be dirtier?
Filthier.
It would be dirtier. I mean, even though the windows aren't open, the doors are closed, it practically would be a sealed building. Some or other it would manage to devolve. There wouldn't be a separate individual consciousness of the room. Oh my gosh, the humans are no longer here. We better start tidying up. We better figure out how to get the dust out, clean the dirt from the cracks, polish the windows. That matter is just not conscious. So wherever you have matter, in any state of organization whatsoever, there has to have been a designer. There has to have been a designer. In the 7th chapter, Prabhupada points out, Bhumir apo nalovayo kamanor bharevacha ahankara itinam bina prakritim ajtada. Krishna is speaking, God, the creator, the actual designer, is speaking, and he says, my inferior energies are eightfold. Earth, air, fire, water, ether are the 5 gross material energies. And then ahankara buddhir, bhumirapo naluva kamara ahankara ityam guna prakritim ashtira. Earth, air, fire, water, mind, intelligence, and false ego, and ether, these are the 8-fold material elements divided into 5 gross and 3 subtle. But that does not even begin to explain. Here it says so poetically in the verse. Let me just find it here. It does not even begin to explain. This material world with various universes, planetary systems, planets and stars, with varied lands, seas, oceans, mountains, rivers, gardens, and trees, all with different characteristics. They are divided amongst the planet Earth, the luminaries in the sky, and the lower planetary systems. Such incredible, miraculous variety. Cannot explain it just through inert matter. Then Krishna says, then he unlocks the key to creation. Aparayam itasatuanyam. Above these 8 material energies. Aparayam itastu. Bina prakriti. There is another energy of mind. Jiva bhuta mahabhaho yeyam daryate jagata is a Sanskrit root word like dharma, dhara, or dhrita. It means to hold up or sustain. And what is it that props matter up? What is it that brings matter to life? What is it that brings earth, air, and fire and water and makes a body, a living being, a Nobel scientist, a Super Bowl athlete, an Olympian? What is it that makes a difference between the material elements, which just lay dull and inert, and something, in fact, vibhuti, something marvelous? Krishna says it's spirit. It's spirit. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam srimat orjitam. Everything mighty, beautiful, impressive, breathtaking springs from but a spark of my splendor. True explanation of creation and all of its wonders is the combination of spirit and matter. Prabhupada writes in the fourth verse in the seventh chapter describes the eightfold material elements. The second verse describes the innumerable sparks of God, the jivas, who enter into matter and spring up in 8,400,000 species of life. And then the next verse, Etad yonini bhutini sarvanityo ham krishnasya jagata prabhava pralayastata. Krishna is explaining to Arjuna here, of all that's material and all that's spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. And in the purport, Prabhupada writes, everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. And he says, not matter, but he says spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. The atheists would have us believe that matter is the basic field of creation, and spirit is a byproduct of matter. But in fact, the opposite is just the case here. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spirit is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because of that superior energy, spirit, soul being present. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of the gigantic universe is developed because of the presence of the supersoul Vishnu. Therefore, spirit and matter, which combine together to manifest this gigantic universal form, are originally two energies of the Lord, and consequently the Lord is the original cause of everything. A fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely the living entity, may by manipulation of material energy construct a skyscraper, factory, or city, but he cannot create matter out of nothing, and he certainly cannot construct a planet or universe. The cause of the universe is the supersoul Krishna, the supreme creator of all individual souls, and the original cause of all causes. As Katha Upanishad confirms, Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitanam Etad Yonini Bhutini Sarvanityu Aham Krishnasya Jagata Prabhava Pralayas. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. At this point, I would like to recite an appropriate poem written by myself. It says, as a cloud is seated on air, so spirit supports the flesh. Take away the living force. It's just chemicals lying there, a corpse naked and bare. Not a twitch or wiggle, not a subtle wink or giggle, can't tickle it or puzzle with a riddle. Deaf, blind, mute, dumb, numb, can't reward it, can't ignore it, can't restore it. Deader than a doornail, stiffer than a board, only thing to return it, burn it, bury it, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, earth to earth. Infirm body versus immortal soul. Learn the difference, conquer ignorance, make a spiritual choice, sing out, give voice, rejoice, make some noise for the spiritual force. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One time in Australia, someone asked Prabhupada, and they said, there's so many groups out in the streets protesting civil rights, and protesting women's rights, and protesting the war in Vietnam. And you, Hare Krishnas, you're also out in the streets as well. And what are you protesting? Prabhupada said, we're protesting death. We're protesting death. And why I should take a material body if I'm an eternal spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Why I should deviate from that purpose for which I was created. There's no question, but if I step right into the middle of the purpose for which God created me, I'll be completely fulfilled. I'll be ecstatic. I'll experience life as a thrill at every moment. But people are being misled in the name of atheistic science. And the reason is there's a certain class of men who have been especially endowed by God don't want to use those qualities that God gave them to direct people to God. They want to mislead people into thinking that due to some effort on my part, I have this talent, I have this ability, I have this intelligence. And they want to be leaders, high priests. They want to be worshipped themselves. So when we chant and pursue our missionary activities, what we're basically doing is protesting death. And we're pointing out to people that you don't have to accept this ridiculous, far-fetched theory that requires blind faith on your part, so far the creation of the world is concerned. Spirit is the essential ingredient. Spirit comes from God. We are not these bodies. We're not black, white, ultimately male or female, Christian, Hindu, or Jew. We're Nitya Krishna Seva. We're eternally servants of Krishna. And our happiness, our fulfillment, our satisfaction will come by just getting right into the middle of what God created us to be and to do what God created us to do. Any questions or comments?
I do. Could you tell me more about the jiva?
Say more about the jiva. Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho. First of all, it's the jiva which causes your body to be vertical and to move along horizontal planes on the surface of the earth. As soon as the jiva departs your body, you're no longer vertical, right? Did you ever see a corpse standing up? Of course, if rigor mortis had set in, it's possible, but not with any life or warmth in it. Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita, I am the seed-giving father of all living beings. Why is it then that some babies carry to full term and are born whole and healthy, and some don't make it? There are miscarriages. All the chemical elements are there, earth, air, fire, water. You take a perfectly born live baby and you take a almost full term dead baby, there's no difference chemically. What's the difference? That the jiva, for some reason or another, has left that stillborn baby, and the jiva remains inside of that other baby. So the jiva is that which gives life. The jiva is that spark from God. And even though it's minute, it says, Keshaga Satika Bhaga Punasatam Sakari Tarash Jiva Rashurupahi. It's just for purposes of understanding how minute it is. It says it's the length and breadth of 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. And yet it is so powerful, having come from God, that it illuminates this entire body from birth to death. And not only that, at the time of death, the soul has not abated at all in its power. It's carried, it's animated, it's dragged this body through 70 years of breathing, eating, evacuating, marrying, reproducing. And the soul has not lost any energy. The soul is just as powerful at the end of your life as it was in the beginning of life. The difference is that your body wears out. The soul wore out your body. It went through your body from birth to death. And after leaving this body, it's up to us whether we want to reinstall the spirit in the spiritual world in its original spiritual form, to unleash all of that power without burdening it or weighing it down or suffocating it with any more material elements. It's up to us what choices we make, how we conduct ourselves in this life, whether we have to again come back, assume another body, go through another cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age, or whether we finally release that spiritual energy to do what God created it to do in the context of eternality and bliss.
So I suppose my question is, is the jiva the super soul, right? Because we're all individual.
No, the jiva is not the super soul.
It's not the super soul.
No, Cheturagnam Chapi Mambiri, in the 13th chapter, Krishna says there are two living entities in the body. One is the jiva, and the other is the super soul of the Paramatma. The difference between the jiva is that the jiva is conscious of the pains and pleasures in each individual body. Whereas the Paramatma, the creator of all living beings, the soul of our soul, he's aware of the pains and pleasures in every body and every species of life. So he's supreme, he's supremely powerful, he's supremely cognizant, and because we're sparks from him, we have cognizance, but we're infinitesimal, so our cognizance is not of the same expansiveness as his. And he's also supremely powerful, he's omnipotent. Inasmuch as we're sparks of him, we also have power. Prabhupada says we build highways, we build skyscrapers, we put satellites in the sky. So we also have power, we have Shakti. But whereas we put little satellites in the sky, he floats planets.
And so how do our individual personalities, what place do they take?
Krishna never makes carbon copies. He makes everyone individual and unique. We don't come off of an assembly line. We're not factory produced. He makes each and every one of us in a certain way so we can love him like no other. And Krishna is all about love, all of its flavors and varieties and permutations and commutations. So every created living being offers a certain flavor of love that no other living being can offer. And that's our ultimate purpose in life, is to love Krishna and to be loved by him in an intimate, unique, one-of-a-kind relationship. And for that reason, Krishna never stops trying to bring us back home, back to Godhead. He misses us. He misses what we bring to the table. And he'll never really rest until we're back home, back to Godhead. It's not going to happen ultimately until we make the choice, because love can never be forced. Love has to be offered voluntarily, otherwise there's no sweetness there. Okay, so I think we've gone far enough today. We can pursue these items tomorrow. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hare Krishna.